Actually, it's fine. Okay. You can just bring it in. Sorry, guys. We're just setting this thing like a, yeah. There we go. Sharp. Get Jan in the picture. He's feeling neglected.
All right, that time of the day again, as we had the faster pastor on a little bit earlier, time now to do the weekly Walking with Winners drug addiction podcast, or addiction podcast for that matter. So yeah, thanks for joining us on this gorgeous Tuesday this morning. Good morning, gents. How are you?
Great. Just before we start, I just want to do a disclaimer here. This video is for educational purposes and is directed towards addiction-related matters. At no point do we promote the use of illegal substances, because I see we get strikes when we start talking about these things, and it's 100% for recovery from substance abuse issues. And then shout out to Urban Wave again for sponsoring the show, Urban Wave Internet Solutions shot, and to Walking with Winners, men's, what are we? Substance Abuse Recovery Facility. All right, so lekker. Hit the like buttons, people. Please subscribe, follow, share, and like these shows so that we can gain some traction. Thank you.
Yeah, the more the merrier.
I'm well, by the way, thanks.
All right, so yeah, Jan, you said there's a topic you want to touch this morning.
Yeah, it's a primary question, a very common trend, especially, this past few weeks. The question comes up on a daily basis: how long should my son be in an inpatient treatment facility? And I did a video last night and I did some research as well, Donovan. I checked that Sanka was started in 1956,
Okay.
So, but it was mostly focused on helping alcoholics.
Okay.
So they worked with the hospitals. So an alcoholic would go for detox, and then he would attend a outpatient program.
Is that when he stops talking? He detox.
Yeah. And then and what was very
They limit his vernacular. All right,
and then I typed into AI, when was the first primary inpatient facility started? And in 1991, Noupoort Christian Center was started. Okay. And in 1993, Houten House was started.
Okay.
That's what the information
It's about right.
And the example I gave is that the guys back then, when you attended primary care for 28 days, I believe Noupoort started off with a 4-month program, is that you must take the addicted person's history into consideration. So back then, 95%, okay, I'm talking now because we work at a men's only facility.
Okay.
So, most men had a secondary education. You either had a matric or you had standard 8 with an N2 or an N3 qualification. When you turn 18, you either had to go to the army or you had to go to the police force for a minimum of 2 years.
Correct.
So what do they teach you? Besides the education that you got from your primary education, your secondary education, in the army, in the police, they teach you routine, discipline, self-respect, all sorts of things.
And how to kill people.
Yeah. But it's true. But the addict of today, the addicted person of today, when it comes to upbringing, I like to use 2 examples. The first one is that mom and dad themselves were either addicted or they didn't have any time to attend to your upbringing. The next one, mom and dad, you know, they had a lot of money. They're so busy at work, and they believed if they throw money at you the whole time that you will just educate yourself or you would have a proper upbringing. So how do you want us to equip a person and to help him recover, but at the same time also help him with his education to get him to a place where he can reintegrate back into society successfully and become a productive member towards society in 28 days or 3 months? It's impossible. And that's why people are not making it. And that's the difference. And you know, I talk about a Nokia 3310 because it was the first phone that I received when I was 14 years old. You got the phone, the addict back then was like that. It wasn't that complicated to help them. Because you put in the SIM card, you can send messages, you can make a phone call. I believe, or that's just my point of view, the addict was really easy to understand. Samsung S26. I mean, you can't just put the SIM card in and, you know, start the phone and get the most from the phone. You have to take the instruction manual, which is usually a very thick instruction manual, to get the most out of that phone. Because what do you pay 50, 60 grand for that phone? So you want it to give you 60 grand's worth.
Yeah,
so you have to study the instruction manual to fully understand it. But that's how complicated the addict of today is.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be happy with me because I don't really 100% agree with you.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I think. I think that addiction recovery has been made more complicated than what it really is in order to justify the exorbitant fees that rehabs charge to rehabilitate people, and thus they have to present some kind of complicated scenario that is required to be dealt with multiple disciplinary teams who all have to be paid, along with adding this element of luxury to a person's recovery process in order to facilitate this mindset that some kind of luxury equates to building self-esteem. And when in reality, the addict hasn't changed at all. At a bare minimum, like you said, we went to the army, we went to the police, we went to all these things, we learned the discipline, we learned this. So in terms of coming from a parental perspective, a person who has got no emotional tie to you, whose primary goal it is to keep you alive and instill discipline, would obviously be able to achieve more with you because you don't know who that person is, you don't know how far you can manipulate them. The army was based on following orders, even if you have to jump on a hand grenade. So that definitely played a role in terms of if you went into some of these longer term treatment centers and you were able to execute yourself in a disciplined manner, you definitely, you know, the program would be a smoother system for you to negotiate. And based on the fact that you already had an element of self-discipline within yourself due to the discipline that you've instilled in yourself, you could lean on perhaps that discipline in order to facilitate your recovery. But the addiction remains the same. You know, people have been addicted to substances as far back as the pharaohs. They find things, right? So the only thing is now under this modern, and I call it pseudo-scientific mindset, where they've taken addiction now and they're trying to turn it into some super clinical mental disorder that has to be transversed and all of this by a league of professionals, is only for you to not feel bad about giving somebody 150,000 Rand for 28 days of treatment. You know, they've got to somehow justify the kind of money that they're charging. And the best way to do that is to complicate the issue. So, you know, at its basic, right? Me and Don were talking about it now. He knows a guy that picked up, he's a recovering addict. He knows this guy picked up a 0.5 gram that he'd stashed many years ago, right? And he hasn't used for many years, right? And the guy had a choice. He's found this half a gram or whatever's left of a gram. No one knows he's found it. What's he going to do with it, right? And the reality is, he's right there, that guy, to make a choice. I can quickly have a sneaky I can have a go at this because I've got so many years clean, I'll probably get away with it. But the risk is the other side, it might ignite something that will not be able to stop, right? So he threw it in the toilet, okay? So great, excellent. And that, at its core, is all it really takes to recover from drugs. All it really takes to recover from drugs is very simple. It's a simple equation, and if you can do this, you'll be fine. Okay, this is it. Are you ready for it? You ready for it? Don't pick it up. Don't pick it up, what?
So we can say that the system has become more complicated.
Very complicated in order to create value. So this is why they fought so hard against the faith-based system. This is why, they're actually in reality fighting against concepts like NA, which is a completely free program, which doesn't rely on clinicians, it doesn't rely on psychologists, it doesn't rely on any of those things. It relies on 12 basic steps. How many principles? 8 principles. 8 principles, 12 steps, all right? And if you follow those steps and those principles to the letter, you will recover for the rest of your life, okay? And this is where we get into it now. So how long must you practice those 12 steps and 8 principles? For the rest of your life, all right? You don't need tablets, you don't need doctors, you don't need psychologists, you don't need psychiatrists, you don't need professional counselors. All you need in reality is the element of faith, the power higher than yourself, which we obviously call God, Jesus Christ in our dynamic, okay? In order to give you power when you are powerless over your addiction, to retain your power. You need to step out of denial, you need to forgive, you need to make amends, you need to do fearless moral inventories, you need to take the message wherever and that's all you really need, you know what I mean? So what has happened now is that individuals, if you want to say they've become more complicated, individuals have become what I like to call professional patients. They've become unwilling and unable to help themselves through their unwillingness. So where a system like Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous was available because there was no such thing. They used to have back in America, they used to have things called sanatoriums, which was literally a psychiatric institution where they used to then send predominantly. Did you ever watch Dallas?
I watched it.
How many times did Sue Ellen go to the sanatorium? You know what I mean? And how many times did she come right? 0 times, right? And the reality is that what rehabs have created in people's minds, they've created a false reality in that if I go into rehab, I'm buying a product. The product is sobriety. Therefore, if I do 28 days at X rehab and I pay my 150,000 Rand, when I come out, I'm guaranteed sobriety. And that's absolutely not the case because you are expecting other people to enforce a mindset on somebody. And you can't enforce a mindset on someone. That's why NA works so well.
I've got
Last thing.
Yeah.
NA works well because you got the oak that's just come off the street that looks like dirt versus, and you arriving there probably like that, you also look like dirt. And then you've got 5 or 6 oaks that are anything from 6 months to 10 years sober, right? And you can sit there and you can look at the oak that looks like you now or look at the guys that are in sobriety and they then tell you how they got there and they explain their methodologies and mindsets, right? And then there was even a rehab called that here at one point. It was called SHARP, which stands for Self-Help Addiction Recovery Program. And that is what recovery has to be. You know, rehabs are not offering a product that you just walk in and pay for and now you get it. But in order to give value for what they are giving you, they've complicated it to the extent where now governments have bought into the system and governments now enforce this Minnesota model methodology where you must have this professional, that professional, and all the rest. And in reality, those are all just add-ons that you don't really need. You need perhaps a nurse, and you need a consulting doctor because there's usually physiological issues that come with addiction, and you have those people to check that out. But these oaks are out there on these leagues and leagues and leagues of prescription medications that we ultimately have found over years and years of experience that
Just makes it worse.
It makes it worse, and when you take them off it, they become better people and they learn how to function. You've got to live NA, 101 NA, learning to live life on life's terms. But why must you always have a chemical crutch?
I'm a NA baby.
I know.
I never did rehab. I'm not saying if I did rehab, I wouldn't have gone clean. But the difference I think why NA worked for me is because the person who referred me also gave me other options. He said, go clean, here's a job. Go clean, here's a car for you. So I had that bit of motivation at least to say, damn, if I don't go clean now, I'm not going to get anywhere. But Pastor Dave, the secret is
it's up to you.
Yes.
It's up to you.
It's up to you, and follow the program.
And there's no one there that is presenting themselves as your savior. And this is what rehabs are presenting themselves as, not on purpose. They're not presenting themselves as saviors, but people are identifying them as saviors because everything they've tried with this individual. I said it to a mother last week. I said, stop trying to save him. You can't save him. He's got to want to save himself. The rehabs can't save him. You can send him. My mate that died from overdose, he went to 40 rehabs internationally, bud, and overdosed in rehab and died. Right? So, it's a make or break situation. All that rehab does in reality, and the way we do it, we don't have leagues and leagues of professionals. We've got counselors. We've got now 2 social workers and an auxiliary social worker. We've got a professional nurse. We've got a consulting doctor. All right, and then you got the spiritual leader, which is myself, right? That takes care of because intrinsically that's what addiction is. Addiction is spiritual bankruptcy that manifests itself in low self-esteem and all the issues that go with not having a spiritual awakening, all right? And there's many people out there that don't even know they're spiritually bankrupt because they've invested their time and effort into worldly pursuits like chasing money and building investment profiles and all these types of things, and they hide their spiritual bankruptcy through their wealth or through their fame or through some guys' sport, other guys' relationships with women and all of that. But intrinsically, they're functional, but they're still spiritually bankrupt. All that's happened with the addict, all right, or the substance abuser, is that he has found a chemical replacement for a spiritual fulfillment. And so when he feels down, he uses. When he feels up, he uses. When he feels nothing, he uses. When he feels something, he uses. And and this is what these prescription meds are allowing people to do. So they come off the hardcore street drugs, and then the psychiatrists replace those hardcore street drugs with legal methamphetamines and fluoxetine and these types of things, which do the same thing, just in a different way, and are pharmaceutically graded and approved. But you're still using drugs.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying? So this is why people that come through NA, people that go through faith-based programs and all of that come clean off all that stuff and are living productive lives, in my view, have gone from being the weakest in our society to absolutely the strongest people you'll ever come across, because they rely on only one thing to get through the day. 2 things, actually. God and the ability God gave them. And that's it. Everything else they face head on. You don't see them sitting in doctors' offices and psychiatrists' offices. I mean, look how the psychiatric story is making a joke of this Madlanga condition.
Yeah.
It's an absolute farce, but And who gives these psychiatrists the authority? Who qualifies them as doctors?
Exactly.
Do you want to know? I'll tell you.
Yeah, tell me.
The psychiatrists themselves and the psychiatric associations. Most doctors, most MDs, GPs, surgeons, they don't consider those ex-doctors.
No,
Most of them.
no,
You know?
but they're not doctors.
So they create a system whereby they qualify themselves and then they accreditize themselves and they present themselves through the accreditation that they themselves gave themselves. And people have bought into it because, let's be honest, the vast majority of human beings are spiritually bankrupt. The vast majority of people are trying to escape negative feelings and depressions and anxieties and all of this. And these guys give them the perfect answer and the perfect outlet to live on a chemical crutch. Because you ask any prescription, the hardest guys to get off is alcoholics. Wow, I can buy it in the shop, it's legal. And prescription med addicts. My doctor prescribed it. Even though the oak has got, I mean, how many doctors did you used to see, Blue? To get different scripts.
And that was the most difficult thing for me to get off from, was
100%.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because mentally, your brain has made the connection. This is legal. This doctor is here for my benefit. Why would he prescribe stuff to me that's going to harm me? But in America, I don't know about if it's true in this country. In America, it's a proven fact that those psychiatrists get paid commissions on the amount of prescription they write.
I've got a, I won't say, no, let me not say who it is or how close it is, family member who is an MD, medical doctor. She gets more kickbacks from the pharma companies for writing, and this is fact, more than she earns from her little doctor's office.
But listen to this, that little...
So I just want to say something to you after seeing that. I'm not going to go into depth here, right? But you know, that wasn't an I love you wave. Do you know that?
What was it?
That was I'm making sure that you're here, wave. I'm making sure that you're actually doing what you said you're doing and you're not off philandering.
And you are 100% correct.
100%. But
Just to enlighten
you know how
guys.
that comes? That's not because of your specific situation. That comes with years and years of experience in this game of what we like to call cohabitation.
Because you guys didn't see it.
But
Jan's fiance just walked past.
And wave.
And wait.
Let's talk about this little book that they use called the DSM-5. It's called the Diagnostic
Systematic
Manual
of mental disorders.
Okay, so diagnostic. Now let's focus on that word. If you get in your bokkie now and there's something wrong, you take it to a workshop and what do they plug in there?
Diagnostic machine.
And the diagnostic machine pinpoints the problem.
And they fix it.
They fix it. Can you do the same with a human?
No.
So where's it
Okay, so
coming from?
you tell me, no, you can't.
You can't.
You can't, because let me tell you how the biblical science works, all right? Okay, you have a brain. What is your brain there for?
Well, obviously, to give commands to the rest of your body.
Right? Okay, and what gives your brain instructions?
Your
Aha.
soul, your spirit.
Aha. So, do you know what they call sleep? What is sleep? Eh? Temporary voluntary suicide.
Sure.
Sleep.
Sure.
Okay, why? Because during that period of time, your brain continues with its normal function. You breathe, you dream, which is residual after effects of where I'm going now, right? But residing somewhere within your body, all right? The brain surgeons will tell you it's in your hypothalamus or your obtula oblongata or all that stuff. But there's no proof of this, right? And then they say, like, if you take a hard knock on your brain, then, like, let's say, then you lose your eyesight or you lose use, like if you have a major brain event like a stroke, then, you know, like my grandmother went through that. You couldn't talk, became invalid and that because your brain is now incapacitated. It can't send the instructions where they need to go, right? Okay? But does that mean that that person that is in that body that cannot function like this, their mind, their soul, do they still think? Do they still have reasoning? Do they still have rational thought? Do they still have all of that? But they can't get the signal to where it wants to go. Aha. So therefore, you then have to dictate that your mind is separate from your brain. So your mind is part of what God says, the Bible says, is instilled on you. It gives you a soul and a spirit. All right? Your soul is and your spirit are combined to make you who you are, all right, as a human being. Not your brain, all right? Your brain allows you to educate and study and all of that. But your brain doesn't allow you to be or to have a conscience. Your conscience is linked to your mind. Now, in other words, if you look at this iPhone here, right, that's got that little thing stuck on the bottom there, which is the microphone receiver, right? Okay, that microphone receiver, okay, you can say is the brain. That is the interface between me, who's the mind now, interfacing this signal to the rest of the body. If I take that thing away, doesn't mean the mind is gone, doesn't mean the body is gone, it just means that the interface is interrupted. And that's your brain. You understand? Now, they're trying to come with this. You must understand, psychiatry is born in transhumanism. All right? Transhumanism means transcending the human state in order to become immortal. All right? That's the one thing. Psychiatry is also born in the studies of eugenics and like Pavlov. You know? In other words, psychiatry comes from the mindset, okay, that you are not anything special. You are just another animal to be experimented upon in order to try and make things better for the other animals, right? But ultimately, you as an individual have no worth. You're going to live and you're going to die, and that's it. You have no soul. You have no. You're just an upright walking ape. Therein is born the systems of evolution and all this stuff, right? So ultimately, their mission is to convince you that you're an animal, all right, and that you can be medicated in a manner that allows you to respond to certain stimuli better than you would have been able to do by messing with the interface. But they don't understand. What they don't understand is what they're doing, all right, is they affecting the interface between who you are and your interface with the world. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you're a human being, you are supposed to 100% feel depressed at times. You are supposed to feel overjoyed and happy at times. You are supposed to be at times, like hyperactive, and other times super lethargic. Now, if I go give that exact to you, I go to, we can do the test. I'm willing to do it. You put a hidden mark on me and I'll go see a psychiatrist, right? You name them, we pull it out of a hat.
Yes.
We pull it out of a hat, all right? And we go see the guy and we sit there and you guys sit there in front of the guy. In fact, we go see 6 different psychiatrists, all right? All right? We must do this experiment. We must do it, and we must film it.
Didn't they do it on psychiatry?
They did it. That's exactly. But we must do it here to prove it to people, because they think that movie, that documentary, is coming from the Scientology mindset. Yes. But you go there and you say to the psychiatrist, sometimes I'm really down, sometimes I'm really happy, sometimes I feel like I want to flip and end myself. Other times I feel like I'm so happy. I promise you, within 15 minutes. You are bipolar disorder, ADHD, manically depressed or clinically depressed, because manic depression is now bipolar disorder. You are clinically depressed and we're going to try these prescription medications on you to stabilize and balance you, right? And then you go to a different psychiatrist and you give them the exact same symptoms and you're going to get a different diagnosis. Why? Because there's no way they can diagnose you, because they do not have a physiological diagnosis like if you've got diabetes or you've got leukemia or you've got this. They sit in front of you, they ask you questions, and based on this diagnostic, which is, there's no diagnosis. It's a guess at best, right? Systematic, that's the way they ask the questions, right? Manual for mental disorders, which, by the way, every single year, do you think these new diseases that are coming out, like COVID and Ebola and all of that, do you think those things are crazy the way? Brother, you have no idea how many new mental disorders these oaks figure out. Do you know in the DSM, there's a disorder, all right? You can look it up on your computer right now, all right? Disobedient to parents disorder. Look it up, in the DSM.
So I have the exact answer. Since the DSM-1 to the DSM-5, which is the latest one, which came out in 2022, the first one came out in 1952. There's 70 additional extra disorders in the DSM-5.
More. There's more. I'll tell you, like the first one that came out, we can look it up. Yeah, but if my memory serves me correctly, it was 90 pages. The very first one, 90 pages, okay? It was a thin book like this, man. Now the new one is over 500 pages, but
Just
and every page is filled with these disorders. And if you go look, where did psychiatry develop and start?
okay, so let's talk about where it originated, between four guys. So it was Sigmund Freud, who was a neuroscientist, neuroscientist. Friedrich Nietzsche was a philosopher. Alfred Adler, I think, was a psychologist. Also,
What did they all have in common so far?
Jeez, please.
All atheists.
Is it? And Dr. Carl Jung. But now listen to this.
Atheist.
So those, okay, not Nietzsche, Alfred Adler.
So just let me interrupt you, then stay with your thought. So what were they trying to do, actually? They're trying to eliminate God and spirituality from the human experience.
Okay. So Alfred Adler, Sigmund Freud, and Dr. Carl Jung started a school together. But they couldn't agree on most of the things. They couldn't reach a consensus and they broke up. Why?
No, because they're treating something that's not...
They each started their own schools or whatever.
So what is one of the precepts of the missiology of the American Psychiatric Association, which is the first formal psychiatric what?
Sorry, I'm just blown away.
Am I right so
I've
far?
now asked for the list, DSM disorders list. My word.
How many?
No, there's tons. I mean, it's just scrolling down.
Yeah, so the thing is like this, Bruce. So the American Psychiatric Association was formulated in order to give psychiatrists credibility because the medical fraternity considered them a bunch of lunatics. The universities considered them a bunch of lunatics. Right? The universities would not bestow doctorates on these people in terms of, you could get a doctorate of learning like you can in theology or anything like that. You can get a PhD as an expert in psychiatry, but it wasn't a doctorate in terms of you have a doctorate that, like let's say a PhD in theology doesn't mean that I can now treat people for mental disorders, bro. You understand? So they formed the American Psychiatric Association in order to formulate their own body that can accredit themselves and give them credibility, right? And they did this whole thing, right? Now, one of their precepts, one of their pillars, all right, is to successfully medicate every single human being on earth. Are you aware of that? All right. Why? Because in the mind of the psychiatrist, every single human being is dysfunctional and a victim of a mental disorder.
I mean, how did it start off before medication? How did they used to
Well, medication became the thing because the systems. So for our followers here, go onto Netflix, all right, and watch a mini-series called Nurse Ratched.
Okay.
All right, and that'll give you an idea of the early beginnings of psychiatric institutions.
They drilled holes in people's heads.
But this
Boiled them, they boiled them.
But
Electroshock therapy.
Electroshock
what I'm
therapy.
saying is, of course, there's people out there with disorders, but that's then a physical brain disorder. So
Yeah, the interface is damaged.
Yeah, so you can't think like because there's a short circuit in the computer. But yeah, what you're saying is so true. I mean, it's so easy to create.
Look, let me say this to you. Let me say this to you, right? You take Stephen Hawking, okay? The perfect example. How damaged was that guy?
Exactly.
All right? Why didn't they medicate him to Yazoo?
Yes.
Because his mind was still functional.
Perfect.
His mind was still functional, all right? His brain was damaged. He had MS. His body was badly damaged. But his mind was one of the greatest minds, they say, that we know, right? And so, why didn't they just medicate him? If they had their way, I promise you, if they had their way, they would have assisted suicide at Stephen Hawking today. Beethoven was deaf.
Yes.
All right. And Beethoven also, they say, had a form of Down syndrome.
Okay.
All right. A lighter form of Down syndrome. So a deaf, in inverted commas, I'm not insulting anyone, a deaf, retarded guy wrote some of the greatest music in history, right?
True.
Mozart suffered from attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, according to modern science. He would have been medicated out of his ability to write the music he wrote. All right. Jim Morrison from The Doors, more recent. Mick Jagger. Some of the greatest movie stars. You look at some of these movie stars that have given out. Johnny Depp. These types of people, if psychiatry had their way, would have been medicated into flippant stupor and would have never. Van Gogh,
Yes.
Michelangelo. These people were notorious. Leonardo da Vinci, go read the history. These people were considered. Isaac Newton was a complete nutcase. What? Thomas Edison, what are you going to do? I'm going to fly a kite on a metal string with a key so that the lightning strikes it, because I'm going to prove that electricity conducts. And people are like, Bert, you're going to die. He says it's all right, but I'm going to prove it. Right? So, these were crazy people, which in the mindset of psychiatrists should be medicated.
Absolutely.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
If you look even now, more recent, Elon Musk.
Well, Elon Musk is medicated. We know that for a fact. He's admitted to it. He is medicated, which I also think could be a mistake. I think he could have gone even further without it, right? Which is a bold statement, okay? But I know that he what does he use? Adderall. I think he's on Ritalin now. Adderall.
Yeah, it's like a Concerta type.
Yeah, I know that he does use medication. Look, you must imagine, like, if you Elon Musk, all right? So I'm just a normal average guy with maybe fractionally higher than average intelligence, okay? And my mind doesn't stop, all right? For me to go to sleep at night is a process, okay?
So he's got a degree of autism.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that's an actual thing, right? So that's like a savant almost. People must explain that to me. Savants.
Yes.
All right? If there's no mind and the brain is everything, how is a person that Helen Keller, right, is just a famous one. That little Chinese fella that can barely walk, barely talk, but he listens to Mozart's, whatever it is, fifth in C minor, once, and plays it better than Mozart. What is that? What is that?
What is that? Exactly.
And he's never learned music. He's never played music. He listens to it once. They put him at a piano and he flip and clapped it, right? So the mind, and this is where prescription medication becomes a demonic thing, the psychiatric medication, because it's offering the solutions outside of your spiritual well-being. In fact, it's severing. What it's doing is it's severing your spiritual man from your natural man. And it's severing your spiritual man from communication with who we all know is our Creator. Even people that claim to be atheists and claim to that, when they go to sleep at night, I'm telling you, they lie there alone and they know, like, there's something else. You understand what I'm saying? There's something else. But they don't want to call it God, because let me tell you why people don't want to acknowledge God. Do you want to know why?
Please.
Huh?
Please.
Because then you have to submit to something.
Then you have to submit to.
And people don't want to submit to anything. People want to be God. And that's what psychiatry does. It allows you to be God. Because if you're feeling like this, you can control through same as addiction. Same as addiction. Addiction allows you to a certain degree, be a God. Because no matter what you're feeling, no matter what's going on in your life, you can cancel it immediately by taking drugs.
Donovan, I see it on a daily basis there by us. If you put a person in the right environment for a certain amount of time, he'll change. His brain heals, he learns new behaviors, routines, discipline. That's why time is so important.
Okay, but that's the natural side of man. You know, that's exactly what psychiatrists are telling you and psychologists, is that a person brain can be mapped and remapped. Like, you know, you look at, I nearly put my foot in it now. Properly. But you look at people, there's people out there, right, that are doctors, lawyers, engineers, okay? But at the same time are pedophiles.
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So these highly educated people that have been trained, but they still cannot escape their mindset. This is why you hear me there at the center. Mindset. Because mindset is born in the spiritual man. The mind and the spirit are together. The brain and the body are together. The one activates the other through the interface that is the brain, right? And that's it. And that's why I said sleep is voluntary, temporary suicide every night.
Yes.
Because the second you fall asleep, you are, in essence, if I knock you on the jaw, what are you? Unconscious.
Yes.
Where's your consciousness? Where did it go?
Yes. Where would it go?
Where did it go? Right? And then all of a sudden you wake up, because that link, your brain has switched off the link between itself and your mind, your consciousness, what makes you who you are, what you are. So you are unconscious. So when you go to sleep, you are unconscious, all right? And then your brain forces that severing in terms of your sleep. And sometimes your mind won't let it, because your mind runs. And then, you know, it keeps your brain busy. And then your brain can't switch off your body because your mind is just pumping it with information. You know what I mean? That's my problem. So imagine Elon Musk at that level of intelligence. How that oak's mind is cranking all the time. I mean, they've taken Einstein's brain, and they've cut it into slivers.
I remember.
And they've tried to flip and study what made this oak so super clever. They don't have a flippant clue. They don't have a clue. And while they're guessing what's going on in your mental state, they're pumping you through with dangerous chemicals. You look at all these school shootings in America, all of them, from Columbine to now. What is the one common denominator? Prescription medication. Prescription medication. And then, you know what they're saying? It's not the medication. All these people had mental problems. It's not. It's not, bro. It's the medication that is separating people from their humanity to the point where to walk into a classroom and gun down 15 of your classmates means nothing, because you feel nothing, because you are medicated to the flipping hilt.
Correct.
It's the medication. And guess who's cottoned onto it? That Kennedy fellow that's working for Trump. That's why the pharmaceutical companies are pumping billions of dollars into discrediting Kennedy Jr. They're doing their best to get rid of that guy because he's cancelling all the stuff in the McDonald's. He's cancelling all the free medications, psychiatric medications at school. He's cancelling all the stuff. Check the stuff that they've proven, or now also himself. The link between polio vaccines and autism.
Yeah, he's also onto the whole COVID thing.
I mean, when it comes to recovery.
But now it started when we were kids. You know, they're pumping us full of the stuff, not understanding the 2 generations down the line, what they pumped into us is going to have effect on our grandkids and our great-grandkids. How many women, all right, they've proven it, that due to vaccines that their parents and grandparents got, are sterile. And this is their next move as part of psychiatry. You like conspiracies. This is the move, all right, is to ultimately eliminate the vast majority of the human population in order to have just enough people to serve a small section of world elites. And that's the move. And how they're doing it? HIV, sterilization, and these types of things to make us think these are just sickness, COVID-19. That was a test run, but wait for the real one to come. And you know what, It's now proven, and it worries me, because I was forced to take that vaccine. I was forced, but now I was forced. I ruled. And in fact, a doctor convinced me, right? A doctor we both know very well. And now they're showing that mRNA is actually a flippant thing, but it changes your DNA structure, right?
Correct.
I thought it was a pie in the sky BS story. And I wanted to believe that to make myself feel better. Now I'm like, holy cow, dude. They've actually changed me as a human being.
I saw that, yeah. And it's scary. I mean, if you...
They want to get rid of us, but we are a problem. They just want enough people to extract the gold, make the food, and keep them opulent. That's all they need. They don't need 8 billion people. How many people do they need?
Yeah, that's talking about gold. I mean...
500 million people. That's all they need.
Whoever decided gold is a valuable thing, by the way. I was actually last week...
This is where ancient technologies come into it.
Why gold? Why not?
This is where ancient technology comes into it. Like where we sit back and say, all right, the ancients were thick, right? We're so far ahead of them. Why was gold so important?
Yes, why?
Why is gold important now? What are the properties of gold?
You can't destroy it.
It's a superconductor.
Oh, true.
It's a superconductor, all right? It can conduct energy faster than any other metal on Earth.
I don't know. Electronics, yeah.
All right, okay, that's the first thing. And the other thing, it cancels out ultraviolet light and radiation.
Sure.
So, do you watch space shows?
Yeah, lots.
Why the NASA Oaks helmet's got gold in them?
Gold in them, okay.
All right, so now that ties into your UFO stuff.
I mean, if you...
Ancient aliens, buddy.
Silver where was used as eating utensils, was used in every single hospital.
Why?
Always, because of the antibacterial
Correct.
The properties.
Correct. That's what gave silver its value. It's antibacterial. So I could share a fork with you. So you could take a spoon. It's what silver. You share a fork or a spoon, especially like during the times of the plague and all of that. Right? So with the Black Plague and all of that, it was highly contagious. But silver prevented the spread of the plague.
So bacteria can't survive on it.
That's why all the poor people died of the plague, and the elites survived because they could afford the silver and eat with silverware and off silver plates. And the other people had to share everything. And the Black Plague was in the grain from the rats. The rats were leaving the plague in the grain. The people were eating the grain and dying. Whereas the people that were eating of silver,
they were fine.
all lived.
They were fine, yeah. That's insane, though.
Yeah. People even used to carry silver on them. Like a silver penny.
Yes.
A silver penny is what? Good luck. Why? Because a silver penny would protect you from the plague. Because silver was antibacterial.
Just interesting.
Yeah, I knew about the silver. I didn't know about gold and what you just said. No,
so then, okay, we're going off addiction now, people, but let's quickly delve into
a couple of minutes, yeah.
Let's quickly delve into this. So, what is the conspiracy theory of the Anunnaki?
Yes.
What is it? And Planet X?
Well, obviously.
Nibiru.
Yeah. It's obviously going back to the book of Enoch, I think.
Let's get out of that.
Okay.
All right. Let's just go into Sumerian text.
Yes.
All right. What does the Sumerian text say? When last were the Anunnaki according to Sumerian text?
Quite some time ago.
3,500 years ago.
3,500. I thought it was
Right.
longer. Okay.
So they say anything between 3,500 and 4,000 years. It takes Nibiru to do one cycle around the outside of the solar system, and then once every 3,500 to 4,000 years, it passes close enough through Earth's orbit that if there are people on that planet, which we call the Anunnaki, they then can reach us with vessels.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
And then what do? When was the Great Flood?
About 3,000 years ago.
About almost 4,000 years ago, right? Okay. Then what they do is, and what do we do in that 3,500 years? What did the pharaohs do? Who were the pharaohs?
Anunnaki.
Anunnaki, right? What was their job? To enslave humanity.
Correct.
What was humanity doing? What was the slave work they were doing?
Building. Constructing.
Extracting gold.
True.
Right?
Okay.
Why do the Anunnaki, why have they got such a fascination with the gold?
Because they know the value of it.
Because the Anunnaki have destroyed their atmosphere and they need the gold to replenish their atmosphere every 4,000 years. Otherwise, their planet burns up because it passes so close to the sun. Okay? So they come and extract the gold. They then put the gold into their atmosphere and that keeps them going for another 4,000 years. Every time they return here, they do what they call the Great Reset.
The Great Reset.
Right?
Yes.
They reset us. In other words, there will be a worldwide cataclysm. All right? And 99% of humanity will be wiped out and a small percentage will be kept under the watchful eye of the Anunnaki, which we would then consider the gods or the pharaohs, and they will then facilitate the beginning of mankind, and then we start from scratch again. All right? With certain technologies that they then allow us to have in order to do what? Start extracting gold.
Gold. Oh, wow. That's a new one for me to
How's that one?
delve into.
And then if you tie that into biblical truths, it makes a certain amount of sense. And then if you tie it to the book of Enoch, that is exactly what it says. And that's what the Sumerian texts say. And that's why 2012 was such a big thing, because they believed 100% according to the Mayan calendar that was the return of the gods, the Anunnaki, to come and collect the gold. That's why the Incas built pyramids of gold. That's why gold was a big thing in Egypt. That's why gold was a big thing in Ethiopia, South America, Red Indians. People that never met each other were completely obsessed and fascinated with gold. Because it's in our DNA. We got to find gold for our gods. And we can only appease the gods with gold.
That is interesting.
That is mind-blowing. Now you've just ignited a new one. I guess what Donovan's going to be doing this rest of this week is looking into that.
I told you, Ancient Aliens is a cracker show. I learned all of that on Ancient Aliens.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm more into the modern UFO claims and stuff. So
it's all linked to it. I'm telling you, just so that you know this, right?
Yes.
All this stuff, right? All of it. Angels, demons, UFOs, Anunnaki, Nephilim, all of it. When one day, maybe when we die or at some point, we are living in if you are living in this time, understand that God has chosen you to live in a very special time. This is one of the most special times, spiritually and biblically speaking, that the world has ever gone through, right? Because like you said, like that movie, this is the age of disclosure, all right? And ultimately, when the full disclosure comes and we have full knowledge of how all this stuff is linked, and when it is finally explained to us, possibly when we die or when we move to the next state of energy and flow or go be with God as we believe, then it says all will be revealed to you. And then you're going to know exactly how all of this ties in. But I can tell you now, as a very spiritual man, all right, who's no idiot and who's studied all of these things as best I can, they are all inextricably linked with the elites, okay, who I want to tell you are not human.
Yes, they're not human.
They're not human. All right? I'm not saying they're aliens, but they are absolutely 100% not human. Okay? On a last note, you know that since they switched off the CERN Hadron Collider,
Yes,
that things have changed again.
again, apparently.
All right. So you're a muso, you're a DJ / radio presenter personality. I want to ask you, do you remember the album cover for Michael Jackson Thriller? Where he's lying in his white
I
suit.
do remember that.
All right. Was there a tiger in that picture or not?
There was.
Okay, so look up Mandela effect.
Mandela effect.
All right.
I'm very much into the Mandela effect stuff. Like
They will tell you there was never a tiger. And you and I know, when you opened that double cover, because it was a double LP, in the centerfold was Michael Jackson with the baby tiger. They tell you we're mad. It never happened.
There's lots of it.
All right. Yeah, but it's only started since when? Since when are we discovering this Mandela effect?
The sin.
The second they switched that certain thing on. So what they're saying is that they were trying to create the Big Bang, right? With colliding protons at 999.9% light speed. All right? 99.99999% light speed. So they could send a proton in two different directions, two different protons at two different directions at light speed and get them. And now a proton travels in a space the size of a laser beam.
Yeah.
And they move those protons through magnetic force in a laser beam at 99% the speed of light and collided them to recreate the Big Bang. And they said they didn't get it right. But people are saying they actually did. And what it did was, without any of us knowing, is it slipped us into an alternate universe. All right? So they do a couple of tests. All right? They do the second count. So 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5. All right? And it turns out, okay, that you get to 60 Mississippis in 45 seconds.
Sure.
In the new timeline. That's why it feels like days are shorter.
Yeah.
And time is going faster, because it is. Right? B, everything that we consider that we remember from the past, all right, has changed somehow. All right, with this Mandela effect. So, under why did they name it the Mandela effect?
Because they believe Nelson Mandela died in the 1980s.
They can bring you newspaper reports.
Yeah, of course.
All right, that show that Mandela died. But you and I remember in 1991 that I was walking out of Johannesburg prison, like that had happened. But apparently, it couldn't have happened because he wasn't here. But we know it to be true because we're living here. But they say no. In a different timeline, in a different universe, Mandela died in Robben Island.
He did, yeah.
Right? So, and this is the Mandela effect now. And now you must see the things that are coming out.
No, it's mine.
Okay.
So I'll give you one that you might remember, right? Do you watch Walt Disney movies?
A few of them, yes.
All right, and you see you got the castle comes with the fireworks, and then little Tinkerbell comes, and then what does she do? Does she dot the I or doesn't she dot the I?
Yes, she does.
Can't remember.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
Apparently she never dotted the I.
That is tons of them out there.
Tons,
Blow
but-
your mind.
Tons. And guys that are our age, we remember it clearly. That is how it was. And the problem is, it's not just I remember it, he remembers it, it. And they're saying to us, never existed. Never happened. You oaks are all mad. It's mass hallucination.
hysteria.
Now, all that stuff, right, is all interlinked, okay? And it's all part of this drive against God. It's all anti-God.
Okay.
All right? So I can send you, I can't play it, unfortunately, on live radio, but I can send you a TikTok video of an interview between a religious leader. I'm not going to say what religion because I don't want to say who it is. All right? But one of the three major religions,
Yeah.
all right, that speaks about how that religion is founded on blood sacrifice, the child sacrifice, and how they used to get rid of the bodies by putting them into the same mix as some of the most popular fast foods we eat today. All right, and how that's just part and parcel. And what it really is it's part of this non-human control that we have actually ruling over us, masquerading as governments.
The government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
But you know what makes conspiracy theories so believable is that there's so much truth within those theories that, you know, they're not written, provable truth, but inside your consciousness somewhere, it just hits a nerve and you're like, hang on, but that. You know, how do this small amount of people, all right, politicians, billionaires, all right, how does this small amount of people exercise so much control over us?
Over everyone else.
And how do we allow them? Because, and this is what we keep telling people around the world, we are conditioned into slavery. Outside of that's why us as human beings, we like to enslave other human beings. Because if we can enslave another human being, we feel like we're
God
gods.
mode.
Yeah. And that comes from, because we're all actually slaves
Yeah.
to the demonic, and we can be voluntary slaves to the light and the God of the universe. But slave, you will be a slave.
Jesus says you shall know the truth and the truth shall set you free. But
Yeah.
Peter says you need to be alert and of sober mind.
Yeah,
to
and
know the truth and to be set
yeah, and he even says, you know, I am a slave to the one and only true God, to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. The key word there is slave, but it's a voluntary slave.
Yes.
You understand? Which brings benefits, blessings.
Yeah.
You know, involuntary slavery to the things of the world brings curse and death.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen, guys. We're out of time again. Thank you so much.
Shot. Cheers, guys.
My mind is blown again today.
Yeah, I'm getting tired of blowing your mind for Mahala here.
Yeah, no, we got to talk about that. Thank you so much.
No,
Pastor
love
Dave.
you.